just days after the 9/11 attacks, two cousins and first-generation Americans from Afghanistan became targets at their grade school. Their friends went from not even knowing where Afghanistan was on a world map to viciously calling them terrorists. For these two, their world literally changed overnight. But then 12 years later, Leo and Jamal, with a great sense of humor, take on the name the Afghanimals. Their mission to literally race around the world, not once, but 3 times, and crush stereotypes, educate people about their culture, and have a lot of big laughs along the way.
I knew I couldn't go back.
You
just put it out there.
She said you've got less than a year to live.
Just dug even
Luck
deeper.
is the residue of design.
Nobody else was doing it, so why couldn't I?
That was the turning point.
Welcome to the BUCKiT podcast with Phil Kogan. Every week I talk to mavericks, disruptors, and innovators. People who ditch the excuses, swerve off the predictable road, and epitomize what it means to tick it before you kick it.
People don't know that people from Afghanistan are very hospitable. They're very caring. They're very giving. It doesn't matter if you're American, you could be German, wherever part of the world that you're at. If you come and visit a local Afghan in Afghanistan, they'll take you in.
Leo and Jamal are famously known as the Afghanimals, having appeared on The Amazing Race for 3 seasons. On season 23, they won 2 legs and came in 4th place. In the All-Star season, they won 1 leg and placed 4th once again. They're now on season 31, and you'll have to watch to find out whether they win this one. I caught up with Leo and Jamal in Los Angeles and was faced with having to eliminate them one more time. Roadblocks and traffic jams caused some detours for these seasoned racers, but in the end, it seemed as if some over-attentive personal grooming by Leo got them off to a late start. When they finally arrived, Leo had a very low-riding shirt and a lot of chest hair popping out. All right, so let me do this. I am with Leo and Jamal. I am not eliminating them today. I am talking to them on the BUCKiT podcast here in Los Angeles. Good to have you guys here. I have eliminated you before. I didn't want to eliminate you again today, but you were late.
Yes.
And what's your excuse?
Unfortunately, that LA traffic had some exits shut down that we didn't anticipate. So instead of exiting 1 exit, we had to go 3 exits further, and that just threw us off a bit. But luckily, we're not in the race today, so it didn't matter.
And may I say, you're showing a lot of chest.
A lot.
Jamal, how did you feel about this when you saw this
I have
outfit?
to sort of comb the hair, just try to make sure it's all fully positioned.
I know you like the chest, so that's why I wore it, just for you.
I'm going to say this. I have chest hair envy because I don't really have a lot of chest hair. But, dude, you are really advertising.
Yeah, I can take some off for you if you like.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. So everybody knows you as Leo and Jamal from The Amazing Race.
Yes.
You're fan favorites. I thought it'd be really interesting to talk to you guys because we get a chance to talk on the mat at the end of every leg on the race, but it'd be kind of interesting to know more about you guys or share with people a little bit more about your backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And particularly right now in the political climate that we're living in. And I'm really interested to know what it's like to be of Afghani descent living in America today in 2019. So your families come from Afghanistan from the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so can you tell us about your family history? How did your family end up here?
It's the whole American dream. My dad left Afghanistan, went to Germany for about 15 years. Then when he came to America, he met my mom. And at that time, it was very easy to go back and forth. There wasn't a lot of restrictions as there is now. And then, late 80s is when I come along. And then being born and raised in Los Angeles was fun, was easy until, of course, September 11th. Then after that is when we got a lot of hate, a lot of remarks in high school, a lot of unnecessary comments. But that's, ignorant people not knowing any better.
Tell me about your family experience then. So your family also came in the 80s?
Yeah, so my family, my parents, they ended up immigrating here from Afghanistan as refugees during the Russian invasion of Afghanistan in the late 80s. So they came here as refugees. Me and my younger brother were born in the States, but my other 5 siblings, so a total of 7 siblings, were basically raised in Los Angeles, California. And part of the experience as far as for them to come here and see the struggles that they went through to raise a family of 7, 9, and just to sort of really take in as far as what's at will, as far as living that freedom and having that freedom here in the States. I think that's what motivated us as, young Afghani Americans growing up, and knowing that the motivation part aspect was there as far as, just making sure that we're successful. We have this opportunity in the States that, if we're back in Afghanistan, who knows what we would have been doing or if we would be alive. And that's one thing that I'm very grateful for, is just having that opportunity of living in the States.
Right now in America, there's a lot of talk about immigrants. There's a lot of talk about people who are different. On Amazing Race, one of the things we pride ourselves on is having diversity. You guys came on the Amazing Race proudly as coming from Afghanistan, right? I mean, you wore that. You had no qualms about that. In fact, your nickname that you guys nicknamed yourself is the Afghanimals.
Yes,
and people, when they think of you guys, they think of fun, loving guys with lots of energy and everything. But I can't imagine that sometimes it's easy identifying yourself as having come from Afghanistan in America, even today.
I mean, it definitely, it's a testament to how we were raised, I guess. Like, we were raised to have fun, to not really care what other people say about us or how they look at us. It's life is short. There's too little to give up, if you're just relying on what people say. So we definitely wanted to make a statement and show that, Afghans, people from Afghanistan, regardless of where you're from in the world, you can't stereotype someone. So we wanted to make sure that we set a good example for, people from Afghanistan. And, even though we weren't born there, we definitely wore it proud. And we did call ourselves Afghanimals because we just wanted to have fun and be respectful and run the race and with my cousin and just have a great time.
Jamal, what do people not know? What are some of the misconceptions about people from Afghanistan? What do people assume when they hear you're from Afghanistan that maybe they're sort of misinformed about?
I think, seeing everything in the news with the current situation that we've been in, having the longest war in Afghanistan in U.S. history, going on, almost 20 years, people don't know that people from Afghanistan are very hospitable. They're very caring. They're very giving. And it doesn't matter if you're American, you could be German, wherever part of the world that you're at. If you come and visit a local Afghan in Afghanistan, they'll take you in. That's part of their local tribes. Is like a 10 commandments for them, as far as when you have any kind of foreigner that comes in your house or within your place, you have to take care of them. You have to make sure that they're fed before you're fed. You have to make sure that it's just that hospitality that they have, that people, I think, don't really see that, because all they see is war, all they see is fighting, all they see is what you see on the news. But until you really meet a true Afghan, they're fun. I mean, just like Leo and I mean, we like to have fun. It's a situation, unfortunately, that I remember growing up. I was in 9th grade. The first day of school, people would ask where you're from, and I would say Afghanistan. No one had no idea. This is back in 2001, right before 9/11. And then the next day when 9/11 happened, they're like, oh, you're from Afghanistan. You're the terrorist. So it's a matter of days as far as people not knowing where the heck Afghanistan was on the world map, and then after the fact, portraying Afghanistan as terrorists, which is not true.
All of a sudden, people are making assumptions.
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced it in just from my accent, and I look like, for the most part, I can walk down the street, and I'm just this white guy walking down the street. People would assume I'm from America. People would assume I'm not an immigrant, but I'm an immigrant as well, right? And then sometimes you open your mouth, you start talking, you have an accent, and people will suddenly make assumptions. But for you guys are not just wearing it in terms of your history, but you're wearing it visually as well. Because you do look different, all of a sudden you're identified with a different group of people, and I'm just wondering what that is like. How can you...
It was a little tough because, being kids in high school, you didn't know any better. We're just in high school. We're like, we're not adults yet. We're not thrown in the world yet. And then to go from one day, as Jamal said, not anyone knowing where Afghanistan was on the map or what it was, if it was a country or if it was a food dish or what, till the next day, all of a sudden, people calling you terrorists. Like someone in my yearbook wrote terrorist, like who I thought was my friend. And at that time, I didn't even know what was going on. I'm like, what terrorism? Like, what is this? It doesn't make any sense. I didn't even know how to defend myself because it would just happen so fast. And all of a sudden, just by looking the way we looked, boom, you're a terrorist.
So, look, people hear the word terrorist, they think of a certain group of people. People are racially profiled, right? I've seen it. I've been in lines with people. I've seen them targeted just because of how they look. I hear people making certain assumptions about about Islam, about the Islamic religion, and I guess maybe it's a good thing to talk about, because a lot of times when terrorist acts happen, if they're done by one religious group, it's called terrorism, and if they're done by another group, it's called, I don't know, what are they called?
Mental behavior.
Extremist mental behavior. So, can you talk about that? Because that happens in the media all the time.
Yeah. Fear sells, like it's easier for the media to portray a culture or a religion that's not in the States. It's easier for them to portray it because they're not in the States, but if someone within America does something, they're going to be lesser encouraged to say or put a certain name over somebody because, this is America. Like, we're all here. We can't, automatically, I guess, associate one with another here, but they're easier to do that overseas, regardless of their religion or their race or their age or their sex, it's easier for the media to do that because it's not in America. I think that would be harder to control with the fear, once we say that. So
just recently, this terrible shooting that happened in my hometown of Christchurch, New Zealand.
Yeah.
What I was proud that our prime minister called it out straight away as a terrorist act, which it was.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very important. The guy was from Australia. And he was a white guy, and he walked in there and he had, I'm just that hatred scares me. On both sides, because it doesn't matter what religion. You've always got extremists. We've seen it in all religions, right, throughout history. And I'm concerned, and you guys have traveled the world like I have. I'm concerned that every time these types of things happen, and it's not called out for what it is, that we're becoming more divisive. The whole point of Amazing Race is to try to bring people together, right? And do you mind me asking if you guys are religious?
I'm not religious, no.
You're religious?
I'm Muslim, but I don't practice it.
Your family Muslim?
They're Muslim too, but we don't pray 5 times a day.
Right.
I mean, unfortunately.
Well, look, I guess the reason I'm asking is that I've been doing a little bit more research into trying to understand the religion in itself. And there are just as there are extreme versions of Christianity, where people are, really obsessed with their religion to the point where it really just takes over their lives. Obviously, that can also happen in the Muslim religion. Yeah. But with your knowledge, because your family obviously, you said, is Muslim, what do we not know about the Muslim religion? Some misconceptions maybe about that religion that we should know.
I think the biggest misconception as far as the Muslim religion is that it's not an aggressive religion in Islam. It's really a religion of peace. And if you read the Quran and they have translations in English, they portray peace as much as possible. And when people see people that are Muslim, they think that we believe in a different God, which is not true. We believe in Allah, which you translate that, it translates to God. There's only one God, and his name is God. There's 100 different names for him, but at the end of the day, it's just one God. And we still believe in Jesus as a prophet, and I think that's a lot of people see Muslims and Christians like, oh, they don't believe in Jesus. No, we believe in Jesus as a prophet to God.
So is it fair to say that the reason that people perceive the Muslim religion as a dangerous religion is because they see the extreme version of that? Is that where it's come from? Is that
I think there's a very small group of people in the world that are very small-minded that probably see the religion of Islam and being Muslim as a dangerous association to the world. But really, in any kind of religion you look at, any kind of race you look at, there's good and bad, and then you have the extreme.
I want to learn more about what you guys do. I know that you've spent some time in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah.
In your life, you were active service there.
Yeah. Fortunately for me, I did 4 tours in Afghanistan with the U.S. Special Forces and the U.S. Marine Special Operations Team back from 2009 to 2012.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. I mean, that I think was the most humbling experience for me, was to go out there and get to see life outside of America. And especially having my roots being from Afghanistan, I got a chance to go back and see what life was like, back from my roots.
And what were the things that surprised you?
It's a lot of poverty. You go back to Afghanistan, there's a lot of poor people, kids running around with no sandals, just barefoot, with very thin clothing, and it could be very, very cold, 40, 50 degrees outside. And, it's the lack of supplies as far as your normal necessities wasn't there. One of the other things that surprised me was that how beautiful Afghanistan is, and
mountains.
It's such a beautiful place, and I have so many different pictures and videos that I've taken and I just saw a certain glimpse, but for people to really experience Afghanistan and the natural resources that they have, and it's a beautiful place to visit. Unfortunately, the political climate and the security concerns makes it that not everyone could be able to travel freely there, but it's a place that, if you have a bucket list, that's if you want to go, Phil, I'll take you. I'll be your personal translator. I'll show you around.
Well, I have an interesting going because of the geography.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also bought into the fear of media.
Yeah.
Like all of us have. You hear the names of certain places, and you think, I can't go there. I'd like to think that in our lifetime we could feel like we could safely travel there.
I agree.
I got a chance to go out there and really experience what our U.S. soldiers go through on a daily basis. I mean, I was out there on the front line going on missions, and the sacrifices that they made, not just, sometimes, giving up their lives, but most of the time just what they had to go through. Until you go to a foreign country, you see a war with your own eyes and see what life is really like. You won't appreciate life in the States until you actually get that.
Have you been to Afghanistan?
Unfortunately, I haven't had the pleasure of going yet, but I wish to go one day.
Do you worry about going? When you think of it, do you think of it as, being in danger? I mean, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Afghanistan?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like hope, the beauty. Like, I hear stories from my parents and, how they grew up, in the 70s, 80s, my mom was wearing a skirt and a tank top, no one was covering themselves. It was really open. They were fashionable. They had amazing trades, like the scenery, everything was
People don't
amazing.
understand that, right? Like
it's hard to understand because, we sort of lived in a closed box now, and
Yes.
and the picture we get is what we see on the news, Luckily now with like social media, you could see the other side of it, and it's a lot more open, because now people from Afghanistan are posting, and you could see the beauty behind it. But going back to what you said, what I want to go there, one of my friends had just gone there, and he was at a restaurant. 2 hours later, there was a bomb that went off. So it's like a risky thing. Do I want to go there and like risk
Rolling the dice.
Yeah, it's like it's too risky. Like, I have, unfortunately right now, as you said, hopefully one day we can all go, but right now I think it's just too risky.
It must
for
make you
myself.
sad.
Yeah,
I mean, it must make you
sad.
tremendously sad that that's your heritage.
Yeah, growing up, the only people that spoke my language was my family and like my cousin. One day in college, I heard someone speak my language, and my ears like exploded. I'm like, no way! Like, there's more of us. So imagine going back to Afghanistan and hearing everyone speak your language.
And speaking of languages, you speak how many languages?
3 to 4.
I speak 5 languages, and being able to speak the languages from our ancestors and our parents, I think is the biggest thing that we could be proud of. Is
How do you keep them alive?
it's hard. To keep languages alive, you have to practice it every day. Unfortunately, for me, I'm primarily speaking English. I have a little 4-year-old that, unfortunately, I'm just speaking English with her, but she knows Farsi. I'm teaching her, and she understands it. She speaks it here and there, but I feel like languages will end up dying out unless you practice it daily. And
your partners, are they? Do they also have an Afghanistan connection?
So my wife is born in New York, but she's from Afghan heritage as well. And I was fortunate enough to meet her. I found her in the woods.
I was just walking down, and look, this woman was lost, and I said,
she had a burqa. I couldn't really tell how she was, and then I said, I'll pick the blue one. You come here.
Wow. So you're happy?
I'm happy. I'm happy.
A 4-year-old kid?
4-year-old daughter. I mean, that's my motivation.
He was
in
really
life.
happy. He took the burqa off. Oh, yes.
No.
Jackpot.
My beautiful wife, Tammy, fortunately, I got a chance to meet her at the mall in Augusta, in Atlanta, Georgia, when I was going on the way to Afghanistan. So sometimes in life, you just meet people. And
you're meant to meet them.
Yeah. I mean, the most least expected way, instead of trying to push it and trying to find your next, or not your next spouse, but your potential spouse.
Yeah,
we could have 4 wives.
Right now, you're
say.
done.
No, I'm just kidding.
What about you? What's going on with your love life? I mean, you're advertising. Do you want us to key up? Call this number now.
I'm advertising for you, Phil.
Sorry, is there going to be a number that we put here?
It's tattooed on my chest. As soon as the podcast keeps going lower, the phone number is going to get exposed soon. Just blur it out, please.
All right. So seriously, what's going on?
No, I'm single. I'm just busy with.
Are you
with
looking
work.
for love, or it's not really a priority?
I think I'm always looking for love. We'll see. Maybe I'll find love on the race this season.
But what we do know about you is you're quite the entrepreneur,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
And tell us about what you're doing day to day. What's taking up your time?
So my time mostly right now involves my businesses. I own 3 bars in Old Town Pasadena.
Man.
So the chest hairs are flowing as well as the drinks.
All you need is a nice big gold chain. I'm serious. That would look good on you.
A diamond chain.
Yeah. Once you get the 4th restaurant. So you guys said that about getting back on Amazing Race, that you really felt like you'd won the lottery again.
Not many people could say that they got a chance to experience an Amazing Race, just one time. But for us, I mean, it wasn't an opportunity of a lifetime. For us, it happened in 3 lifetimes. I mean, we got a chance to race 3 times, which is unheard of. One of very few selected teams to do that. And, we knew what was at stake. And, I felt like that was a blessing, just to get a chance to do it with your cousin, your best friend growing up, and being teenagers, watching the show and saying that one day we're going to apply on this show and we're going to get, on there, whatever happens. We turned 18. We're like, all right, let's apply now. But then we're like, we don't have any kind of life experience. We're not going to get picked. So he went on to USC. I went over to Afghanistan, came back, and we're like, all right, there are open casting calls. Let's do it now. Well, now we have a life experience. We made a heck of a video audition tape, and the rest was history.
So tell us about the connection between you two, your cousins.
Yeah.
So how are you related? Which is your?
So our moms are sisters.
Your moms are sisters.
Yeah,
and what was it about because you've got this great friendship. You guys, I mean, you bicker and carry on. We've seen that. But at the end of the day, you love each other deeply. I mean, you can see you really care about each other. So what was it that?
Well, growing up, I had 2. I'm a family of 3 kids, 2 sisters. I didn't have a brother. He lived down the street, and he was my age. He, of course, had several brothers and sisters. But
what do you mean, of course?
When there's no TV in Afghanistan, you pop babies.
they're breeding like crazy out there.
Like bunnies.
Well, your family was. So, okay, so he's down the road.
He's down the road.
You don't have a brother.
Don't have a brother.
Your sisters are mean to you?
No, they were nice.
No, okay.
Yeah, but growing up, like there's so much girly stuff I could do, like combing their hair and painting their nails.
Did you get into that?
Can't you tell by the outfit?
Did you hear that nervous laughter? And by the way,
say something.
Totally acceptable. I'm not judging you. If you want to, did you want to comb the hair of Barbie or whatever it is you want?
I have nail polish in my backpack. If you
He's the new Zohan.
Listen, I'm gonna come clean here and tell you that there were times where there were not young boys to play with when I was a kid, and my sister and her friends decided I had long hair down to my shoulders, and I'm just going to be comfortable with it and tell you they did plait my hair once.
Oh, man.
Yes. I never let them paint my nails. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
I painted their nails. I braided their hair.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And one time I remember I wanted to comb my sister's hair so bad, and she didn't let me, so then I started crying, and my mom made her let me comb her hair. I had nothing nothing else to do. He wasn't at home, so I couldn't growl out the street.
People love to watch you guys. They love the dynamic, and you bring a little levity to it.
Yeah.
And I think you really have. What you've really done is you've just opened people's eyes up to, again, this idea of diversity on Amazing Race. When you think of Amazing Race, do you think of diversity? Because I'm thinking of other shows, whether there is as diverse a cast as we've had on Amazing Race. You think about it.
I mean, for the Amazing Race to not just cast us once but 3 times, that really shows the diversity and the ability for them to take a risk on us. I mean, the safest bet was to go pick people that are, your more common, people that you will see in the U.S. But for us to get casted with beards and chest hair growing like there's no other. But I mean, for us to be on there 3 times, it's a show that exemplifies diversity. Not just from the cast that they, or the contestants, but where they travel. They take risks. They go to different countries that are out of the norm, even though the security situations may not be as safe. But they want to show that certain country that we visit is not just what you see on TV. It can still be safe. They still have good cultural customs that are pretty unique to us, and that I think it's a fun experience.
Yeah. One of the things that I say to people, what I love about Amazing Race is that we get to show what is right about the world rather than what's wrong. And if all you're seeing is what's wrong with the world all the time in mainstream media, then how could you ever assume that it's safe to travel?
And I think that's like a reason why we've been coming back, is because we exemplified those attributes of these countries. A lot of times you would see on the race, some people, hey, I don't speak English. No, we would do our research and learn the language and say it in their respective languages. It's like with the media, and you can't be ignorant to what's going on in the world. You have to do your research. You have to sort of dive in with the culture. Be very respectful, of course.
You can't feel like the world revolves around you. You have to go revolve around wherever you're at.
I always tell people, imagine you're visiting someone's home.
Yeah.
And they ask you to take your shoes off because it's customary for them to take their shoes off. You don't fight that.
Yeah.
You take your shoes off.
But even before that, if you walk in and you see there's a line of shoes, you know. Because going into like Indonesia, like, okay, you've never been there, but if you see what people are doing, if they're all holding on to the rail going up the stairs, you're going to follow their lead because you don't know any better. Before someone tells you, hey, don't do that, don't do this, you should be alert and aware of your surroundings. And that's, I think, what me and Jamal did really well. Like growing up, we were lived down the street from each other, and we didn't have social media, we didn't have phones, so we would make up our own games with water balloons. We would do the craziest things, and that's why we did so well in the race, because we were in this little bubble in Torrance, and now that bubble exploded. Now the whole world was our playground. But being immigrants, we still had that respect, and we understood what we had to do when we were on the world. So it was definitely a blessing.
So when you came back on season 31, you got to race against people from Survivor, Big Brother. What did you think when you saw Rupert? Rupert was very confident in the beginning with his, we're tough, we're from Survivor.
Survivors are going to win.
And he was calling everybody out and saying how tough they all were. But he's a great character. What did you guys think when you found out about this opportunity to go get up against some of these other characters?
I feel like for Leo and I to get that opportunity to race amongst all the reality shows and combine them into one, really got a chance to show that it's not just being on an island, it's not just living inside a house, that the race consists of a lot of different variables that you have to make sure that you're operating at a high level in order to be successful. And one wrong move, one wrong taxi, one wrong sense of direction, you're in the back of the pack, And I feel like for teams that struggled on season 31 are probably the ones that don't have a lot of travel experience outside of their normal bubble that they live in. But for Leo and I mean, like on my Instagram, I put on that I'm a world travel cultural enthusiast. I like to learn about different countries. I like to learn about different customs, when I travel, aside from the race, and just being able to go. When I was working in Afghanistan, we went to Kuwait, I went to the Emirates, and just all over the Middle East, just to really experience what life is like outside of the States.
Yeah, same with you?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's it was surreal. Like the first, we did season 23, got called back for season 24. It was
next
fresh.
day.
Yeah, it was fresh in our head. So we're like, oh, let's do it. But now, 4 years later, like, now he has a family. I'm like, have these businesses, and like they call me like, what? Really? Like, what's going on? It's like April Fool's. But then we talked. I'm like, dude, this is like happening. Like, yeah, I'm 100% down. And then when they finally gave us the 100% you guys are on, like, wow, like unbelievable for us not to be able to do it not only once, twice, but for a third time. And now as with the best of the best from Big Brother and the best of the best from Survivor, and then the best of the best of the best of the best from Amazing Race,
the best of the best of the best.
Yes, exactly.
Look, Amazing Race fans have some have really embraced this idea. Obviously, people who watch all 3 shows have really embraced the idea. But we have some old school Amazing Race fans.
Could I address that, Phil?
Yeah, I'd like you to address it. But let me say my part about it first.
Yes, please.
I think at its core, I think Amazing Race is all about people going out for the first time, like you guys when you went out for the first time and you're like fish out of water and you go into the situation. And I think it is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I get that. What I say to people is, listen, we're 31 seasons in. We're trying to mix it up. Yeah. We have fans that would love to see this mashup. Yeah. So give it a shot. Yeah. We can't please everybody.
Exactly.
But at its core, I do agree that Amazing Race, at its core, the reason that the format has always worked is because of who you guys were when you were on your first season.
Exactly.
And the David and Marys from season 10, and the people who have never owned a passport and never traveled, those people who are fish out of water. Now you have your say.
Now, Phil, with that being
your rebuttal.
I think just reading some comments from people on social media saying that for CBS and the Amazing Race to cast normal people.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're not normal people.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, we're as normal as it gets.
Can I just
go ahead?
Because this is where but because I'm speaking for the people.
Yes.
By the people. No. I think what they're saying is normal. And I've pulled them up on this as well. What does it mean to be because I would not describe you guys as normal.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because you are a little, oh boy, you guys are a little out there. But I don't think anybody who comes on Amazing Race is what you might call normal. They
have to have a personality. They have to be out there.
About them.
Something
Kenton
wrong with
Vixen.
them.
Yeah. Think of Kenton Vixen when they came on. Yeah. Or do you remember Sarah,
of course.
The triathlete who was an amputee? I mean, this woman, she's out there. But so I guess what they're saying is people who maybe have never been in the limelight. I think that's what the meaning is more than normal. Because, gosh, if you put a bunch of so-called normal, that could be like going to an ice cream store and the only flavor is vanilla.
Yeah. Well, the first time we went on, I remember reading a lot of things. Oh, how dare they put Afghans on like like we're fighting them in Afghanistan. That just shows like how close-minded they are.
I'll raise my hand and be like, I did 4 tours in Afghanistan along with the U.S. Special Forces. I'm on the same boat as you guys, but I'm American.
Listen, just to the point again, this is all the more reason why it's so important to have the diversity. Yeah. I believe Amazing Race was the first show to have an openly gay couple show affection to each other with the Guidos in season 1. And we're talking 2001.
Yeah, Amazing Race.
And think of how the world was so different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
trendsetters, pioneers, to say the least. Amazing Race really, hands down, took that first step, and they always thought outside the box. They didn't go with what the normal media was thinking or was the safest bet to do. Mm-hmm. They always took that extra step and took risks. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't, but
you have to.
31 seasons later,
you have to, and you have to adapt. I get what you were saying with people wanting normal people, but normal people like. I get it, but you have to have some sort of personality to be able to, put this whole show on your backs.
Have a camera in your face with light. How are you going to react to that?
That's another good point. I mean, look, the format is amazing. We have an incredible team putting it all together. But we all know, at the end of the day, no matter how well we shoot the show, no matter where we go, no matter what challenges we have you guys do, unless we get good reactions from you, we have no show.
Yeah, you need content.
Because you guys are writing our script.
Yeah.
What you say becomes the transcript to what we cut together, the thread of the story. And if we get ordinary...
You get vanilla flavors.
And we get vanilla...
You know,
That's boring TV, and we're off the air.
You got 11 teams of vanilla all holding hands, skipping to the finish line.
Here, you lost your passport. Let me give this to you.
Phil, you're gonna look over the side. Who came in first? Like it's a tie.
So you come back for season 31, and I'm at the mat, and it's like the first check-in, and I figure, oh well, you're married now. You got a 4-year-old, and you got your 3 bars and your business, and
I have a cat too.
And a cat.
And
I figure, well, they must have matured, these Afghanimals. And I literally hear you guys from like a mile away, screaming. And today, here we are. We're all set up in this beautiful, peaceful studio. And like a mile away, I hear you guys coming up the stairs. It's still
like animals in the jungle, letting their calls know.
We're the lions.
We're here.
We gotta know. We gotta let. It's like how dogs pee on the. I didn't pee in the hallway, but
that wasn't you.
We roar.
Where are you going with this? What?
We're marking our territory. Afghanimals are here. Making sure you're aware.
At the expense of your ears.
So one of the questions that we always get, that I get a lot is, what does it take to be good on The Amazing Race? And I always say, hell, I don't know, because everybody is so different, and some relationships you think they're dysfunctional, but somehow they work. But if you were to answer that question, what would you guys say?
A lot of people always ask me, and oh, I'm not in shape, I have to lose this much weight, oh, I gotta brush up on my history. I'm like, it's not even like that. You have all shapes, all sizes. It doesn't even Amazing Race is so good at what it does that it doesn't matter. I mean, that stuff will help you if you're on a sprint, like towards the end. That'll help. But if you're good at every other task, then you shouldn't be neck to neck with another team. But I would say is patience is probably number one. Not getting caught up with reading the clue too fast, because that's what always messes you up, not deciding who does what. Patience is probably key, because you'll get a taxi, eight teams will go one way, and your taxi driver, I got a shortcut. Now you're on a shortcut, and all of a sudden that exit's closed, and the next exit's closed.
And then you're late 15 minutes in this interview.
Yeah, and you're rolling the dice. You're rolling the dice every time you get in a cab, because you don't know you're going to get a good driver, bad driver.
That's my word. That's like number one thing is the taxis.
I think
they'll make or break you.
To be good at, not just good, to be great on The Amazing Race, you have to be able to adapt on the fly. And what I mean by that is that you may have 8 hours of sleep on one leg of the race. You may have 4 hours the next. You may eat a bunch of food within a span of 24 hours, or you may not eat for 2 days. And you have to be able to adapt your body to that.
So what are some things, without going too inside, but what are some things from your perspective, because I've obviously never run as a team, what are some things that people don't know about the race? For instance, I'm guessing, those long plane rides, like what that's like, or like some things that, again, we don't want to break the fourth wall too much, but just give a sense of what are some things that people don't know.
I think one of the biggest insights to racing on the race is that each team has a camera and audio guy. And these camera and audio guys have to constantly, if you're running full speed, guess what? They have to be 20 feet ahead of you with a 50-pound camera. And then the audio guy, running backwards, trying to record you. And the audio guy has his backpack of battery packs and everything, another 40, 50 pounds. And they have to stay ahead of you as well, so they're not in the shot. So I think that's the biggest thing, and each leg, the teams for the camera crew gets switched around, so it could just be fair across the board, that it's not just one camera crew assigned to one team.
And nobody can say, oh, that guy's faster than that guy.
Exactly. So I think my hat goes
Shout out to all the camera and audio
crew
guys.
and
There's
audio.
one right there. 14 seasons of Amazing Race right there.
There you go.
And they are the heroes of our show.
Yeah.
I mean, we need you guys to tell the story, but we need them to capture it. And they literally carry the show on their shoulders.
I mean, they have multiple cameras. You open up their jacket, they got small GoPros, they got everything you could think of. It's like, what you want? I got it.
Yeah.
Attaching it to the taxi, attaching it to your scooter. And these guys are professionals.
There's a little drone. There's flying drones.
Flying drones. Underwater cameras.
Listen, that's going to happen real soon. I'm telling you. I just had a conversation with Scott about that last night with these new drones that can track you. And I have a feeling the future Amazing Race, they're probably going to be like, hey, guys, go have a beer. We got you covered with the drone.
High altitude.
Hey, that would be good for us. Jamal, just follow the drones.
Go inside the building.
So true. Anything else, inside information? Again, we'll be able to edit out anything if you go too far. But
I would say everyone's like, oh, like, how was that country? I'm like, it was how you saw it on TV, because they think like after when they cut, like we're touring the city. It's like, no, once it's cut, you're secluded. You can't talk to any other teams. You're in a hotel room and that's it.
Yeah, talk about that, because I hashtag 12 shows, 21 days. Roughly, we shoot a season in 21 days. And people, they try to do the math on that, and they go, well, hold on a second. You're doing like over 25,000 miles. Once we did 75,000, season 5, we did 75,000. To go around the equator, I think is 25,000. And you're zigzagging. You're going from country to country. Just describe what that's like. Because for me, it takes me 2 weeks to sort of process what's happened.
Yeah.
I think when you're racing, people don't understand it's not just from one episode to another episode and just a matter of a split second we're in that country. Like, for instance, this season 31, we went from LA to Tokyo, and that's a 5-6 hour, more than a 5 hour flight. It was like 11-hour flight, but that's the hardest part, is to stopping your brain from not racing, which is impossible because you're still constantly thinking about the race and, what's that team doing? What's this team doing? And just the jet lag that you get. And then once you get dropped off at that country and now you're like, all right, race. There's no prepping, there's no stretching, there's nothing. It's like, all right, once we check in, we get our passports cleared, boom, start racing.
You're in Los Angeles, right? English, America, you got
culture shock.
Your burgers, your in and out, US currency. All of a sudden 11 hours goes by in literally like 1 hour, right? Because your adrenaline is pumping. This is the first day of the show. You see teams getting up, talking to people. What are they doing? What are they doing? So you can't rest.
Right. You're paranoid that they're getting some inside information,
exchanging money, whatever.
You're super paranoid. It's intense. And then you find, what'd you find out? Now you're trying to mingle, trying to make teams and whatnot. And then you land. All of a sudden, we're not America anymore. It's just Japan, and you quickly know it's Japan. And from a blink of an eye. Like, I remember when we were on the airplane, like, there was sand from Hermosa Beach, or can I say Hermosa? Right?
Yeah,
they already know.
Yeah, we know.
So there was sand from Hermosa Beach.
But you do bring up an interesting point, right? See how we're all on guard. Can we say that, right? It's like you have to live with these secrets.
Yeah. And like now imagine, like right now, that little nerve that I just went through. Now imagine that the whole race on the airplane. Oh, wait, don't say that. They're looking. It's all mind games. It's just... amazing.
The other thing that people don't know too is, on a lot of reality shows, they get prepped for a challenge.
Yeah.
So all the contestants turn up to a challenge and they say, okay, everybody, first thing is you're going to run over here, you're going to leap over that. Then you're going to go over here, put this on, do that, jump over there. Then you go to here, they turn around, come back, do the same thing. On Amazing Race, you literally rip and read the clue. And then boom.
Yeah, that's it.
And you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. For the Amazing Race, there's no trial and error. I mean, you rip the clue and that's it. That's game on. And one of the things that people don't understand, they always ask, is this scripted? There's nothing scripted. Nope. We have an amazing team that does the editing and the storytelling, but it's everything that we've said and they edited. There's no retakes. Or Leo, say that again. Leo, show your chest hair better. Show them.
Stand by 1 second. Leo, could you show your chest hair better? Yeah, because that's what we do on this show. No, but you're right. It's real.
It's real.
Yeah. And in that authenticity, our viewers have come to know their authenticity on Amazing Race, and that's something that we all pride ourselves in. So apart from Leo and Jamal, favorite Amazing Race team in history?
Ooh. I like the Globetrotters. I think they were just as fun as us, going out, interacting with the crowds, the locals, having basketballs, just playing with them and spinning balls off their fingers. I think they were fun. I think one of the most favorite moments for me was that when we're in Oberto, Italy, we're running down this bridge and we just found out that we got U-turns. So for me and Leo, it was like, damn, this is another U-turn, but we're going to get through it. And at that moment, I really wanted to take it in. So I grabbed Leo, I stopped him, I was like, take this in. I was like, and then the camera guy just did a perfect 360 view of us, and he took that. It looked surreal. I mean, it looked like we're in a movie and just we're on a bridge. We see this castle, we see the mountains from a distance, and we still knew we got a U-turn, but yet we didn't let
you can't let stuff like that get in the mind in the way of this beautiful experience. As you said, like, we're in this world, like we're going around the world. And we're going to take everything.
It's a world stage. And think about your 4-year-old daughter has all these amazing videos of her dad that will live forever. Where she can watch what you were doing before she was born. And, now, it's pretty amazing. That's some expensive home videos.
Let's put it this way.
That's some Emmy Award-winning videos.
I'll be the coolest dad in show and tell in her elementary school. Let's put it that way.
My dad went with his cousin,
25 different countries.
hairy-chested Leo, all around the world. Okay, so I got a couple of questions for you guys. A road trip. If you guys were going to take a road trip across America, and you could take 3 people in the car with you, people who are alive or dead, people from the past, who would you take with you in the car?
3 people that I'll go on a road trip with would first be Kobe Bryant, Barack Obama, and I'll take my wife.
Nice.
I think that road trip, and the reason why is that Kobe Bryant's been my idol growing up as a kid, just to show that competitiveness, state of nature, and just playing basketball growing up, and just he's been my role model.
All right. What about your road trip?
I would say first, my dad. He's definitely made me who I am and taught me everything, so I owe him that.
Is your dad still alive?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely, yeah. You'll see him tonight.
Okay. Yeah.
With drinks in his hand and
Full
partying.
disclosure, we're going to have a little celebratory dram in the speakeasy tonight. Anyway, yes.
My dad, I would say Elon Musk. He's just doing a lot of
Cool
amazing,
things.
innovative things.
He might even bring a joint along.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing him.
He might tweet some stuff out on Twitter.
Yeah. Do some random thing. Anyway, yep.
And
You had all this time to think.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you here?
Exactly.
You know what I'm
my
saying?
Point.
I mean,
Don't deliberate.
I was gonna say Obama, but then he said Obama. But I would
But you
say
can
Obama.
take him.
You can take
Obama
Trump.
loves road trips. He loves going, and with you guys, he'd love it.
I would say Obama as well.
He's recyclable.
Can I take a pet? Can I take a pet as well?
You can take Michelle.
You could take a pet.
No, you can take Michelle Obama. She cool.
Yeah, Michelle would be cool.
Michelle would
Okay,
be cool.
if Obama's on,
He's already taken,
if he's
baby. He already got it.
Well, you could take Michelle Obama on the audio book.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it'd be like
true.
she's in
Yeah,
the
very
car.
true.
And,
Exactly.
You pack that.
And
Okay.
and I'll take
I
my
love you,
cat,
Obama.
Pablo.
And
I love
Pablo?
My cat.
Kobe.
Oh, wow. Love Pablo. All right. And last day on Earth. What would you do with it?
Last day on Earth, I'll go on the highest peak of whatever mountain that I see.
And jump off.
Yeah, no. And just shoot myself in the head.
What?
No.
This is meant to be an uplifting, inspirational thing.
All right,
and
you
you're
said
gonna, like, how only the Afghanimals will be
You go
leaping off.
first. You go first. Let me think about this one.
How about you, Phil?
Me?
Yeah.
Definitely, I want to be with my family.
Yeah.
I'd like to be in New Zealand. There's a particular beach that I go to. I'd love to be there and just have everybody that I really care about with me.
Yeah.
And
But don't you think that's a little like sad too? Like you don't want to, like you don't.
No,
maybe,
because I would be like, okay,
maybe you want to push them off the mountain first. So then
Like,
it's
I'm
your last
coming right after you. You go
I
first.
don't want to push anybody off any mountains. All right, let me see. There
give
is
you-
another
let me-
adult in the room. He's a father. He's got a 4-year-old.
So the last day on Earth, the perfect scenario in that situation, I'll take my family, Sophia and my wife Tammy, to Laguna Beach. And the reason why is that that's a place that we always go to. It's very beautiful, it's scenic. Watching the sunset. I think just being close with them 3, and anyone else wants to come, they're more than welcome. But please don't mess up this
Can I
party.
advise that maybe you just think twice about bringing your cousin? Because
He might push us off.
this is great, but look, there's a big cliff over there.
Yeah, you go try it out first. Let me know how it is on the bottom.
No, I would. As I said, with my family, anywhere in the world, as long as I'm with them.
You know what? You should stick with your cousin because I think you can learn a lot from him.
Thank you, sir. Thank
really-
you. Phil, you're my
I think
favorite.
he will make you a better
Why do you
man.
think I brought him along the race?
I knew there was
And
something
final
about
question.
Phil. I knew it
I
the
knew you-
first day I met him. I knew it.
Final question.
Don't go there, Phil.
Did that shirt come like that, or did you get scissors and cut it
A
down?
U-shape.
Because I've got to tell you, I've never seen such a low rider.
It's a deep.
That
well,
is-
Phil,
that thing is.
It's not a shirt. It's a thong. He just happened.
It's a fashionable tank top. Okay.
He's wearing his thong over his shoulder.
It's actually very fashionable because it
Who are
gets
you
hot.
talking to? All the single ladies? What are you doing?
yeah.
All right, man. Thank you
I'm
so
gonna have
much.
you. I'm gonna have you a tank top tonight, man.
Which color you want,
for
Phil?
coming on, guys. Yeah.
What size?
you.
Tonight we celebrate.
Tonight I see the chest.
Phil, could you really say that you've laughed this much with anybody in the past, or is this one of the top?
I do feel like I've been drinking and we haven't even had a drink.
You don't need no drinks with us.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. To see more great interviews, go to philkogan.com and subscribe to BUCKiT with Phil Kogan wherever you get your podcasts. Please consider rating and reviewing us. And follow BUCKiT, that's BUCKiT with an IT, on Instagram and Facebook. Also, follow me on Twitter @PhilKogan. See you soon.